The door opened, and a middle-aged man appeared. His hair was white, and he wore a dirty apron. The faint scar on his cheek was the only sign of strength that could be found on the man's face. He didn't seem like a person who would be a guardian. Eileen looked incredulously at the man and hesitantly sat back down. "You are a guardian?" "Yes." "Really? I was worried you would react like this." Eileen glanced at me after hearing the middle-aged man's words. I smiled at Eileen. "I told you they will be around us. However, to be this close..." The guardian was the pub owner who previously made the side dishes for me. Of course, I guessed from the beginning that he was the guardian. He was very similar to the guardian who appeared in Ways of Survival. I also knew that he would save me. If I didn't know this, I wouldn't have declared myself a revolutionary. Eileen asked, "Why did you keep quiet until now? If you really are the guardian, you've had many chances to save people." "I had to save my points. You know that a guardian can only save people a total of 5 times. "I know, but if you didn't use all 5 times... "If I had saved someone else..." The pub owner glanced at me before continuing. "The revolutionary would be dead." "You sound certain that the revolutionary would appear." "I have always been waiting. Not everyone gave up like you." "Are you saying that to me?" The atmosphere seemed to be heating up, and Jang Ha-young quickly interrupted. Now, Eileen, pub owner, let's stop fighting and think about things going forward. Isn't it good for us if the guardian shows up?" I admired his skillful method of changing the topic. Jang Ha-young was one of the most extraordinary people in Ways of Survival. He was a foul-mouthed person who desired to stay here, but he was originally an excellent mediator who understood the hearts of people better than anyone else. Jang Ha-young coughed and tapped on the shoulder of the pub owner. "At any rate, I am surprised. I thought you were only good at cooking. Honestly, couldn't you have given us a clue?" "A good chef often has many secrets. Speaking of the revolutionary, how'd you like my cooking earlier?" "Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to eat it. Someone else ate all of it." Jang Ha-young stared at me with wide eyes, and the pub owner chuckled. Eileen poured cold water on the atmosphere that had barely improved. "You guys are laughing like you're already colleagues. Don't you know? The game has already begun." If Jang Ha-young was an excellent mediator, Eileen was an experienced schemer. She might not be in the lying down dragon grade, but she pointed out something that a revolutionary should be suspicious about. I know. In fact, her advice was pointed to a verse of the revolutionary game that appeared in Ways of Survival. "It's important to gather the same side, but the most important thing is finding out the identity of the enemy." It wasn't easy to distinguish who was an enemy and who was a friend. Most revolutionaries failed and self-destructed because they couldn't break through this point. The pub owner received my gaze and smiled bitterly. Do you perhaps doubt me? Do you think I'm a snitch for the Duke?" I laughed without saying a word. I already knew that the pub owner was a guardian, thus this gesture was for people other than me. "Shall we start with introductions first?" "I'm Mark. How about you?" "I am Yu Jung-hyuk." Yu Jung-hyuk? Sounds like a name I've heard before. It was because the Earth scenarios were spreading. Therefore, there might be a person who remembered the name Yu Jung-hyuk in the demon world. I could use this hand if necessary. There were also a few story fragments that I had obtained. Well, let's go to the Duke. I'm not the Duke's snitch. It's hard to believe, but I'm being honest. No, I believe you. You believe me? Yes, you really are the guardian. Mark stared at me like I was a fool. I don't know what happened, but I guess I passed the test. That's right. Congratulations on entering the Revolutionary Army. The aghast Eileen shouted at the sudden conclusion. No, wait a minute. This person came right after I made the revolutionary declaration. The Duke's snitch wouldn't have responded this quickly. The last revolutionary scenario was 30 years ago. Eileen paused in my quick clarification before she continued. It isn't wrong, but I don't think this is enough evidence. I do. I'm sure that this person is the guardian. How? Just as I am sure that you're an engineer of Lindbergh. How could you... I also know that Aslan over there is really Jang Ha-young and he's from Earth. Hey, my privacy. Eileen's expression changed when she saw Jang Ha-young's reaction. You can see the attribute information, as much as necessary. In fact, I had already checked Mark's attribute information. Eileen didn't understand, but she was finally convinced. You have an unusual skill. Until now, there wasn't a skill that could glimpse of the position information. My skill is special. I'm glad that you have such a skill. Still, the situation is very hopeless. It should be very hopeful. Eileen sighed with the half-hearted resignation and said, "With this, the fake revolutionary army is formed." Fake revolutionary army? What does that mean? That reminded me, my situation was a bit complicated. I should first give an explanation. The people here were those that I needed to take to the end of this scenario. I took some time to persuasively explain that I wasn't a real revolutionary, but a person who could make the revolution a success. What? You're not a revolutionary? 2 people screamed before my words were over. Thinking back, I never got a good evaluation every time I announced a project at the company. Mark, who exhausted his points because of me, completely lost his soul. Crazy. A fake revolutionary, a poor guardian, the chairman of a civil council, and a frivolous little boy? Is this a joke? Frivolous little boy? Hey, you're talking too much, Mark. Stop fighting. The situation is like this, so should we worry about what to do next? Mr. Fake Revolutionary, do you have a plan? I have a few things to prepare. I briefly explained my plan to the group. The haggard-looking people became more serious as I talked. By the end of the story, Mark, who joined the fake revolutionary army, opened his mouth. Certainly, those are measures we need now. Are you going to participate? I don't have a choice. What will you do first? I have to change my face. I pulled out the story fragment, Face of a Casanova who died from sexual relations. Mark seemed puzzled. Face? That wasn't in the plan. The most important things in the world aren't included in a plan. Why your face? Shouldn't I be handsome to be a revolutionary? Let's see a few hands. At the same time, Earl Sillock and Han were walking down the streets. Sillock walked through the streets and glanced at Han. Hey, Han. What? Sillock wasn't satisfied with this answer, but the other person was in contact with Asmodeus. Since Han was willingly joining him, becoming closer wasn't bad. I think you originally weren't a demon. Can I ask where you came from? Surprisingly, Han gave an answer. A place called Earth. Earth? Ah, I've heard that name before. I guess. The planet is famous these days. Since you got Asmodeus' attention, you must have considerable skill. Considerable skill? Sillock was a bit amazed by the pride that emerged on Han's face. Was he making this face because he was such a great person? What were you originally? A sword master or a great magician? It is similar. What is it? I was the department head of a large company. A large company? What is that? You don't know it? Han thought for a moment. If I had to give an explanation, it's a group similar to a nebula. A nebula? I'm just giving an analogy. Then were you a constellation? No, but it is a similar analogy. Then you are amazing. Sillock didn't understand the words company or department head, but he was forced to feel surprised at Han's explanation. It felt like he slightly understood how Han made contact with Asmodeus. What is that? At the gateway between the noble section and the civilian section, a huge barricade was being built. It was obviously an iron gate. Sillock shouted in an annoying voice. Hey, what are you doing right now? A citizen working on the barricade replied, Oh, a noble. I asked, what are you doing? Can't you tell just by looking? We're blocking the way. Sillock was a bit startled by the shameless voice. Who made you do this? This is the chairman's orders. For the moment, nobles can't enter among the citizens. What bullshit! What right? Get rid of those barricades now. Otherwise, I will immediately throw the 2 of you into the dump. The citizens flinched and retreated at his ferocious growl. Then another voice was heard from behind the citizens. If you're confident, then try it. The citizen who spoke was different from the other citizens. The unknown citizen released a powerful force from his body. Silok became tense and retreated. Most citizens were weaker than nobles. However, that didn't apply to all citizens. There were the mysterious dimensional movers, and some of them were as strong as the demon nobles. You are doing this just because there's a revolutionary. You think we can't kill him. The reason why the citizens never stood up against the nobles was due to fear of execution at night. However, things started changing from last night. You didn't kill him yesterday. The citizens muttered as they gazed at each other. Silok was furious, but he couldn't cross the barricade. He was alone and had no way to deal with so many citizens. At this time, Han asked, "Are those guys holding a strike?" Strike? They're talking about what they're not supposed to do. Silok understood what Han was saying and nodded. It's a similar situation. I see. Leave it to me. I'm a professional at dealing with this. A different type of wickedness emerged on Han's face. This happens when the workers don't know who they're going against. For starters, you have to implant some fear. Eileen helped me with the story fragment that I absorbed through Lamarck Kieran. However, the molding of the face wasn't as easy as I thought. The face of a Casanova who died from sexual relations didn't rest safely on my face until it was evening. I looked in the mirror and smiled with satisfaction. Kim Dokja thought, "It isn't better than Yu Jung-hyuk, but this is decent." Then Eileen finished the procedure and muttered, "It seems a bit better. Well, I don't know. Why is the impression so fuzzy? I guess it was fine. My nose was slightly higher and my cheeks more taut." The anxious Eileen asked me, "By the way, is it okay to be this carefree? Soon it will be the second night. The execution will come again." "It will be fine tonight. The Guardian can't protect you indefinitely, don't you know?" "I know. I'd prefer not to use the Guardian's points if possible, but now there was no other way. I had to overcome the second night with the Guardian's help. The third night was when I could try a new method." "Surely Mock won't become the target, right? A Guardian can't protect their own life." "Don't worry. No one other than us knows that he is the Guardian." The Duke would still be caught off guard. He didn't think the revolution would succeed. We had to use this chance well. "Eileen, night is coming!" Jang Ha-young yelled from outside, and I went with Eileen. I had to be the target to avoid unnecessary disturbances. "The revolutionary!" People remembered my outfit and cheered. I felt a bit sad that no one realized I'd changed my face. The second night has arrived. I looked around the street. Mark was hiding somewhere in advance and preparing to protect me. "You are currently under the protection of the Guardian." The creepy flute sounds were heard, and the executioners appeared one by one. They emerged as expected. "Who is the revolutionary?" "It's me. You can't kill me, yet you gathered here anyway." The executioners looked at each other. "You are the revolutionary." Then they said, "But..." At this moment, I felt suspicious. Wait, it wasn't possible. They already thought of this strategy? "The one who will die." The executioners aimed their scythes at different targets. "Not the revolutionary." One of the nearby executioner's scythes aimed for Jang Ha-young's neck.